Hi everyone, I'll be showing you Third Age Total War, which is a Lord of the Rings inspired mod for the game Medieval 2 Total War and its Kingdoms expansion. And this is a campaign battle with the faction Eriador, which is not actually a nation in Lord of the Rings lore, but it's basically in the game it's a loose sort of alliance of a certain region where basically the Hobbits are and some other folk like the town of Bree. And but they do have a few advantages, such as having heroes like Gandalf and Aragorn. And in this battle I actually do have Gandalf as one of my generals, so you'll be seeing a bit of him. And I'm fighting this battle in this long campaign I fought against the faction Isengard, which, as if you've seen the movies or read the books, you know, has the Uruk-hai and is led by the wizard Sauron. Fortunately for me, this is the early stage of the game, so they don't have many of their best units. You see, the general is pretty heavily armored Uruk-hai, but the rest are some I believe Dunlin spearmen, who are not very good, and Uruk-hai raiders, who are sort of the lowest Uruk-hai units you get. They do have a lot of Snaga skirmishers, those guys chucking spears at my guys, but I basically have an overwhelming missile advantage in this battle. As you can see, I've got a lot of Hobbit archers. I also have a few human archers, such as Eriador scouts, Eriador hunters, and then I have a few melee units, such as, who are not very good, town militia, suburb militia, and lumbermen. The only good thing about Eriador's melee units in the low quality rank is that some of them have armor-piercing weapons, such as axes. So Isengard's going to basically try to rush me because they really don't have any other choice. I'm just shooting them to death otherwise. Okay, so some of my archers are retreating there, but those Isengard units are going to crash into my first line of Hobbit archers, I believe. And I did set them on skirmish mode, which means they shouldn't be retreating, but it often takes them a bit of time to realize that they should retreat. So most of them are managing to retreat, but you'll see on my right flank here.
Pray something changes in the course of battle.
Away from it, but one unit of Hobbit archers who was in loose formation skirmish mode did not retreat. And actually decided just to keep them there to sort of hold up the enemy advance and allow my back ranks of archers to shoot. Okay, I'm gonna start moving at least one of my generals who's not Gandalf. Yeah, here I was actually debating sending in my melee units who are on the flanks of my army, but I actually held off because that front line of Hobbit archers that got caught up in the enemy charge is actually holding out okay, and they're in loose formation, so I'm just going to take the opportunity to shoot into that horde of enemy units with my back rank of Hobbit archers. Meanwhile, on my left flank I did send in some of my melee units, and I'm also going to
Pray something changes in the course
do some
of battle,
charges on the back of
certain.
those enemy units. One of my generals. Okay, you can actually see some enemy units broke through my line, but they were just chasing some of my Hobbit archers who didn't rout. They were just running away in skirmish mode. And yeah, actually, some of the enemy units reached my second line of archers, Hobbit archers, so they're going to engage in hand-to-hand. And here I'm basically just doing some rear flank attacks on, I believe this is actually the general bodyguard units. So if I could take out the Isengard general, that'd be great. I guess beyond the general unit, who's kind of isolated there, you can see, or at least the enemy general unit is isolated. The rest of my line is holding out pretty well. There's that horde of enemy units still caught up with that one Hobbit archer unit. So for anyone who thinks Hobbits are wimps, well, they can can definitely man up when the time is necessary.
Only half the enemy force remains.
Okay, we're still chopping down his general bodyguards, trying to kill the guy. At this point, I decided to pull out my cavalry for a bit and chase down some of those Snag skirmishers who were chucking spears at my guys. And here, I also send some melee, and they're starting to wrap around the enemy flank there. It's not going to go too well for Isengard there. You'll see I actually am finally sending in my melee units there because I decided my Hobbits have done their job. They've held off a lot of enemy troops for a good while. Alright, I think we just killed Isengard's generals. Yes. You can see that little symbol, the sword, just came down on the left side of the screen. Alright, so that one unit of enemy spears, I think, that went into my back line is actually routed. And I continue to wrap around the flanks of the remaining Uruk-hai who are still trying to carry out their assault, but they're in serious peril now because I basically destroyed both the left and right flanks of Isengard's attack. And my archers continue to pretty much decimate anyone who's left on the battlefield. You can see a lot of Isengard units routing in the far distance. And here's my general. I wish I remembered what his name was, but honestly, it's been so long that I have no clue. Meanwhile, Gandalf's actually just been sitting in the back. You can kind of see him in the trees. Bring him into play near the end of the battle. I'm just keeping him there to inspire the Hobbits.
The enemy general flees like the coward he is. Press onward and break the spirit of his army.
Okay, I think that was actually a second general, if I'm not mistaken. So Isengard actually had two generals in this one. And okay, finally I'm going to move Gandalf, send him around the flank, and maybe do a rear charge if it's necessary. In the distance, my other general is chasing down the routing.
The battle seems to be swinging in our favor. From such tidings does victory emerge.
Alright, and now Isengard's center is finally broken. You can see those Dunlending spearmen running, and also this Uruk-hai running. But it was a pretty bloody battle for a bit in the middle. But I was pretty proud of my Hobbit archers. You can see they're the majority of my troops in this army. And actually, they were the majority of the troops in my army in this entire campaign. Alright, so I'm finally sending in Gandalf. There he is. You can see him in gray, which is kind of funny because his unit card shows him in his white Gandalf form, but for whatever reason he's gray here. But it's fine. He's swinging about with his staff. Alright, so after a bit of time elapse and a lot of chasing down routing units, I charged into the last remaining Uruk-hai Raider unit that was resisting. I charged in with some militia, and then I'm also charging with one of my generals. And they actually brought the Porta generals over there, but that just makes it easier for the general to clean them up. And that pretty much does it.
The enemy are utterly vanquished. This is a great victory, worthy of only the mightiest of generals.
I guess just because they're Hobbits versus Uruk-hai. Anyway, I'll be showing part 2 of this campaign, so keep an eye out